10 investment strategies that I currently do. I'll tell you the ones I do, the ones that I don't, I'll tell you as well. For 2012, number one, jot this down. The strategy is called land banking. What's it called? It's a way to buy property without a loan. It's another way to lay-by property. Land banking is what the richest developers in the country have been doing for years. They don't like me sharing their secrets, but I've built a career out of taking strategies that the rich do, articulating them in a way that everyday people can understand and apply, and as a result, they become more common. So, land banking. I'm not going to teach you how that works after lunch, or our first speaker after lunch you don't want to miss. Our first speaker is a gentleman who talked about how he started with $50 and built an internet website and company in Australia and making $1 million a day. He's going to be straight after lunch. After that, you're going to learn about land banking. Probably one of the best strategies I invest in. That's why I don't invest in Australian housing, because I invest in land. Why? I make more money and I outlay less money. And it's a strategy that the average Australian can now replicate. Number two, what would you like to know number two is? Any guesses? What's the number two investment strategy 2012 right now that you think is number two? Very good. US property. US property, land banking, they're pretty neck and neck. US property is, if it's a race, land banking's out in front, but US property is really starting to catch up. It's coming very popular now. Why? Because I'll talk about it tomorrow. The reports are coming out thick and fast now. The US property market has bottomed. There's been recovery. We know we're in the market. There's been recovery. I'm not saying it's going to be a boom. It doesn't need to be. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But number two, US property. A lot of smart people are going into US property, have been for some time. Is it applicable for you? Tomorrow, after lunch, you will learn about US property for those who want to know how to do it safely and effectively. But if you can get 15, 20% returns secured by real estate and not have to leave your lounge room, it's going to get hard to beat that. Imagine if you can go to a financial planner, give me a managed fund that's secured against real estate, that's paying 15 to 20% cash flow instantly. There'd be queues for a mile, okay? Is it for everyone? Well, they say, can the average person do it? Not unless they're educated or have a service to help them do it. It can be tricky. Otherwise, they'll talk about the mistakes people make tomorrow. Number three. Have a guess, number three. Share renting. Have some of you been reading my blog? Very good. Share renting. I would put, now I'm not saying this is gospel, I'm just saying this is how I would rank them right now. Share renting. So tomorrow before lunch, my friend Nick Halleck will be here. Some of you have heard Nick before. Nick has an amazing story. You want to listen to this guy. I mean, he has an attitude that gets the most out of life. Okay, he's been into space, been trained as a cosmonaut. He's made a lot of money initially in property, actually, but then he got into the stock market. He's going to teach you how to make money by renting shares, okay? These work hand in hand. Number four, take a guess. Probably getting tricky. Jot this one down. I call it selling insurance. Selling insurance is a cash flow strategy in the stock market. I'm not going to teach you about that right now. You'll get some freebies throughout this weekend, so you'll get a link. You can go and watch it online, how that works, etc. One of our most successful students, 78-year-old John Thompson, some of you have seen him online, made up to $40,000 some months doing that strategy, sat in a seminar like you and went out, started with share renting, got into selling insurance, done it quite conservatively and done very well from it. Number five is, I would probably put number five as Australian real estate. You can still make money in Australian real estate. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Number six, I have to check my notes. Take a guess. What do you think? Very, very good. It says right here, internet businesses. Internet businesses is what it is. This weekend, you're going to learn obviously about that. What's great about that doesn't require a lot of capital, requires time. So let's have a look at those things in a moment. So number 6 is internet businesses. Definitely this trend, the focus this weekend is a lot on social media. Randy Zuckerberg's going to talk about that tomorrow, some of the other speakers as well. So internet businesses. Startups, you can make a lot of money in that. There was no such thing as apps 4 or 5 years ago. How many people, I have friends overseas that sell apps, like they start an app, sell it for $1 million. Young people. Some apps they only sell for $100,000. It's just money out of thin air. Number 7 is business in general. You're going to have some business speakers here this weekend, some outstanding speakers. Business in general, if you do it correctly, you can make money with no money starting as well. So they're good. Then what I would say, number 8, I would list as Forex trading. By the way, I do all these so far. Not all the time, some of the time I don't, but I've done all these or do most of these up until now. I also am a Forex trader. If you're buying US property, it's $1.05 right now, you're hedging our money very well. So it's a great Forex trade. So you can do both in one go. Later today, you'll actually learn about Forex trading. Definitely a lot of possibilities there. Number 9. 9 and 10 you can put together. 9 plus 10, you could say E-minis plus CFDs. CFDs, you don't know what that is, doesn't matter. Now, before we wrap up, I'll just clarify some of these things. Does that help, by the way? Now, that is my order of priority. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. It's what delivers a result. I'll tell you the biggest mistake people make. And it doesn't matter what you teach them. Some people have a habit of just listening to things they want to hear and ignoring the things they don't want to hear. So, the most successful strategies depend. It's not a few things you want to consider. How much capital, C for capital, will you need for each strategy? That you need to consider that. How much time will it take? You need to consider that. How much skill level will it take? Another thing to consider is what is the success rate? What is the success rate of the strategy? How do most people do at it? Make sense? Those things are all things to consider. As an example, let's say these top 2. Capital required to do land banking these days is not that much. Generally 30, 35,000. Use your super funds. So capital is fairly low. It's cheaper than buying a $500,000 house. Time, you're probably not going to be good enough to go and do it yourself or have the capital, so you'll need to use a service. So therefore, if you're using a service, it requires no time. It's done for you. What's the other S stand for? Skill level. Well, if it's done for you, you don't necessarily need skill level, but you should still be educated so you know what you're doing. So you're owning your decisions. Success rate. Well, some of the time, land banking I've seen increases of up to 18% per annum on land in markets where houses haven't grown. So success rate can be quite high because you're using very little outlay. US property, capital required, depends on what sort of house you're buying, but you can get finance. But let's say you probably need 25,000 upwards, 50,000 if you want to pay cash for the whole house, or 25 if you want to use finance. So compared to most investments, pretty low. Time. Well, you're probably going to have a service do it for you unless you're going to go and spend the time doing it yourself. So it's done for you, it'll take you no time. You don't have to do anything. Skill level for us will be low. Success rate is very high. Okay? If you're doing it correctly, very high. Making sense? That's why they're in the top 2. If you jump right down here, let's say 9 and 10, or even underneath Forex, from here down is much more speculative strategies. The challenge with this is these are more likely to succeed, are safer, easy to do, and will get you a result. The danger is a lot of people want to jump over all those and go straight for, say, something like E-minis or CFDs. Now, I'm not saying don't do that, but they're speculative investments. They're things you do with money you can afford to lose. They're not things you do with money that you're rolling the dice and hoping to retire and get rich quick. It just doesn't work that way. Does that make sense? So much so that Forex is slightly different to E-minis, because I think Forex, you can do that more longer term strategy. You can be more conservative with it if you want. But certainly these levels, you shouldn't really be touching that until you got these underway. Take a safer bet, I would do. The interesting thing is the more successful you become, the more conservative you tend to become as well. Does that make sense? Which is a good thing. Not everyone, but you want to become more conservative. So for me, where am I spending most of my time? Here. Obviously, I do business and stuff as well. Here, sometimes here. Never have I done E-minis in my life. Never would, never will. A lot of people love it. But only with money you can afford to lose. Do it with money you can't afford to lose, and you'll learn the hard way. CFDs I've never done. Forex I've done. All these others. But I start here and work my way down. Raise your hand if that helps you a little bit. That will give you a bit of a guideline as you go throughout the weekend and start learning in detail some of these strategies, what's going to serve you. The good news is this: it's never been simpler to be able to access investment strategies. Like, an example, like US property, the cost of stamp duty in Australia costs more than a US property. So it is more realistic for people these days. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying it's simple. Make sense? So, let me share something with you very quickly. I'll give you a gift because you've been participating and playing full out. And so what I'm going to do is, as I mentioned before, I do a 4-day program twice a year. It's my cornerstone program. I've been doing this for almost 14 years. I think one of the most valuable programs there is in this country. We have people flying from all around the world to do it. It's 4 days, 2.5 days is by me with content. The others is other speakers. But we have a lot more time to go in a lot more detail, covering emotional intelligence as well as financial intelligence, and a lot more detail. My gift to each and every one of you is this. Well, my gift is to the first 300 people to get to the back of the room. I will give you, there's some tables down there, I'll give you a $3,000 ticket for free. The first 300 people that go to the back of the room now, there's 2 tables there. If you wish to attend this event, $3,000 gift. All they'll ask is for a $97 refundable deposit. You can go this year, you can go next year. You've got 18 months to attend. It's a $3,000 program. It's my gift to you. You're welcome to take advantage of that. And I will see some of you at that event. The rest of you, do you have any questions? I'll answer a couple of questions because they've been coming in. Remember, you can send in questions as you go. Let me answer some questions that people have been sending in. And then in a couple of minutes, you will get to be able to have some lunch. Some people have asked questions. Okay, do you ever have bad days, and what do you do to get back on top of your game? I think what a professional is in whatever endeavor you do is still be able to perform well on your bad days. If you're an NRL rugby league player and you're not feeling well, but you can still go out on the paddock and perform. Leighton Hewitt is a great example of a tennis player. Doesn't matter if he's not feeling well, he'll put himself in state and perform. A professional is someone that can still perform on their bad days. I think I gave you some keys about bad days. If you wake up in the morning and focus on 5 things you're grateful for, you won't have too many bad days in your life. Makes sense? It's just a perspective change to help you with that. Someone said, do you think it's dangerous to feel content in your life? Do you think that stops you from having drive in your life? Now, that's a very good question, and it probably relates to a lot of you in this room because we're higher achievers. So some of you probably have a feeling that you don't want to be too happy or be too content because then you'll stop performing, that you'll lose your edge. Who can relate to what I'm saying here? And higher achievers, so often what we will do is we'll push ourselves really hard and have really high standards. Now that is good because it does drive us, but the danger of that is we can become workaholics and we can be very focused on our future but neglect our present. Now I've mentioned Richard Branson before, and he's been a mentor of mine. I think Richard has a really good philosophy around life that I've learned a lot from as well, and I've done it for years anyhow, is that Richard has the ability to some people, party today and enjoy your life. But a lot of people say, well, I'm going to live that way. I'm just going to party hard today and live life because you could be dead tomorrow. Now, if we live that way all the time, the challenge with that is we wake up tomorrow with a hangover, okay? So the key is to be able to enjoy your life now and celebrate your life. I think that's important, but still be driven and focused on your future. Make sense? And I think it is a skill set. A lot of people party too much and neglect their future. Other people are workaholics and work too much and take no time out to celebrate their life. And I have a suspicion that the majority of you in this room would fit into more likely to be workaholics too much than celebrating too much. Am I right in saying that? Who thinks they work perhaps too much? Who would like to party and celebrate life a little bit more? It's to have this balance. I'm telling you, the happier you are in life and the more you celebrate life, the more successful you'll actually be. So the answer to the question, should you be worried about being content? No. You don't want to be comfortable. You can be content and happy, but still have dreams and goals for the future and still driven. For me, I never have to motivate myself to do things. Now, that's come because I've done subconscious training and reprogramming, which those attending the 4-day program, I will take you through that same journey. How to rewire your subconscious brain so you are automatically driven, you discover your purpose. We go into some pretty deep sessions. You discover your purpose and you'll come, I promise you one thing out of that 4-day, you'll come out of there more motivated, more driven than you've ever been in your life before. Very different to this event. This is more of a larger scale event. We don't have time to go into as much detail, but in that 4-day event, it is intensive. If you come, I will push you. I will challenge you. But I promise you, you'll have a much healthier perspective in life and you'll not only be happier, but you'll be more successful. You'll be much more content with your life now and that will lead you to be more successful. That's the key. A lot of people think, when I get the $1 million or when I get the perfect relationship or when I get the big house, when I have my business, then I will be happy. Life does not work that way. That's a Western society disease. How about be happy now? Celebrate life, be happy for that, and as a result, you have more passion and drive, and you're more likely to get the things that you want. And when you do get the big house, that is not the dependence of you being happy. You're already happy, and now if you have a big house, it just magnifies your happiness. Does it make sense? If you get that great relationship, it just magnifies who you are and your happiness. But you can be happy whether you're single, you can be happy whether you're in a relationship. It's not dependent on external circumstances. Make sense? So we have to learn that ability. It all starts from within, and that's what emotional intelligence is.